Nosi. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I know that I've been inconsistent. I've been going back and forth. But guys, one thing, it's not intentional. You will find out. Just stick around with me in this channel. You will find out. You will find out, guys. Is anyone there? This is basically our first live on this channel. I wanted to, do the usual video and upload, but I thought, no, let's do some live, streaming. Let's do some live streaming. And today we are basically going to be talking about the challenges Africans are facing raising kids abroad, whether you are in the UK, the US, Canada. Abroad is anywhere away from home, but particularly in the West. I'm not looking at moving from Nigeria to Ghana, Ghana to Nigeria, Ghana to Kenya. All of that is still Africa. I'm looking at leaving the African continent as a whole to Europe, to the West, the challenges we face as Africans raising kids. If you have raised a child abroad, they've gone through the childhood age, teenage age, they are now full-fledged adults, you might want to share your experiences with us, because I don't know how people go around it, but with my little experience and my stay so far in the UK here, I can literally say that it's not a walk in the park, to be honest. It's not a walk in the park at all. Because in Africa, we literally do not, see it 100% that environmental factor. We know it does, but we do not take it into cognizance that environmental factor is a thing in raising kids. Do you get? But having lived in the West now, I can tell you for sure, if you're not careful and you are not sort of firm, consistent, you don't mean business when it comes to raising children, with what I have seen so far, the environment will literally raise them for you. With what I can see. The environment will raise them for you, to be honest. So let's share our thoughts, share our experiences on the challenges. One thing I feel like is the fact that you're struggling. If you have little kids like myself, it's a big deal for me when it comes to food, having to get them to, eat our native foods, my Nigerian foods, having to get these kids to speak the language is another set of challenge, if you ask me. Is another, oh God, that one is huge, it's massive, like. So having to get them to speak the language, having to get them to eat the food, appreciate where they are coming from, it's really a big thing, because children are going to school every day. They are spending nearly their whole day in school. They are mixing with other people. If they're in the UK here, they are mixing with people from Britain, people from Poland, children from all walks of life. And basically the British culture, basically the British culture on its own is what is being taught to them. That is what they learn in school. So you trying to put in your own culture, you trying to teach them how things are back home. You trying to bring in the African in you sometimes, it's not a walk in the park, to be honest. You guys know that sometimes when I'm even speaking my language to my children, they understand. They understand, right? Speaking it now is the issue. Sometimes these children are making fun of you, like, what are you speaking? And I'm like, why are you laughing? Like, is it funny? Am I speaking nonsense? You get? It's not because they don't understand you, they understand, but sometimes it's a bit difficult for them because they feel very comfortable communicating in English language, which is the environment they have found themselves, which is why I say environment. Oh God, environment. If you're living in the West, do not underestimate the power of environment raising your kids for you. If you are not there present in their life, if you leave them to do things as they wish, environment will take over. That is what I've come to realize. So I was having a conversation with somebody who has raised kids here in the UK. They're all grown, they're all adults. Some are married, some are, living on their own and stuff. And then she said to me, for you to raise them in our African culture and get them to, appreciate Africa as an adult, travel home, come back, know their roots. That first of all, she said, you need to start with their names. So imagine, she played a scenario from imagine where an African child is called Tracy. She's an African child. She's called Tracy. Now, a white child as well is called Tracy. Now, you raise her all her life in the UK. She has mingled. From her name, she doesn't find herself as different. Do you understand? So, but when you name them their native names and start calling them, it rings in their subconsciousness that, yes, I hail from somewhere. So when you're teaching them, oh, this is how we do it in Africa, this is the norm, this is the family values, this is our family culture, it kind of sinks, because when they go out and, okay, my name is Chidima, for example. So if I'm raised in this country, just for you to understand me better, and I go out and then somebody calls, my white colleagues are calling me Chidima, there is no white person bearing Chidima. In my head, I already know that I'm bearing Chidima because I'm from Africa. I have African heritage. But if I'm not bearing that name and I'm bearing the Western names and stuff, there is a likelihood that I might not really relate, or I might not even think of the importance of knowing where I'm from, where my culture hails from, our norms, the values. It's difficult. It's difficult. My kids are still very small. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 3-year plus. I can tell you, even in this their small age, one will look at it and say, oh, they are children. But I can tell you that in their small age, you can already tell that if you don't start the job now, if you don't start now, you are bound to lose it at the end of the day. If you don't start now, if you don't start to do the job in them, to make them know where they are coming from, understand their culture, follow your family values, and not think that everything out there painted as it is what it is, then just know that you are bound to lose it. Have you not heard of children of African origin who abandon their parents in the Western country? They don't care. They don't care. They move. They just move. They move on. They literally don't care. Naturally, in Africa, that is not typical of us. We look after our old. We don't do care homes or living. We do living care, yeah, because we take care of our own in our houses. But we don't tend to send our old people to a place where they be taken care of by the government. But these children are raised here to care less. And that is why, at an old age, that feeling of loneliness comes in, because, the culture they know is the Western culture of move on, move on, move on. And they keep moving. So I feel like it's very challenging for me as an African, to raise a child. It feels like raising a child in the West feels like somebody's watching all the time. It's like there are cameras on you watching. But you know that back home in Africa, you build your walls if you want to. Nobody really cares. What everybody wants is for you to produce, a child that is useful to the community, to the society, you know. But here, it feels like there's a camera watching you. There are things you can't say to your child. There are things, there are certain things in your culture that you mention to your child, and if the child says it outside, it's like, oh, you are indoctrinating the child with something silly. That your culture is not being appreciated. You're expected to, learn their culture. Tell me if you're living in the US, in any of, but for me, this is what I feel like it is in the UK here. There are certain, I've seen TikTok videos where somebody's expressing their culture to their child, and the child goes outside to say, oh, where I'm from, this, and then they look at the child as, this is weird, like you're indoctrinating your child with something silly, that kind of thing. So it's like that. It's like there's somebody always watching. It's like the children you give birth to are for the government's eyes are on you, what to tell your children and stuff like that. Now, you cannot just say, for instance, no disrespect, where I come from, religious wise and everything, LGBT is something we frown out in my family, but no disrespect to any one of them. And then I try to show that as a value to my child. Somebody, a white person in the West might frown at it because they feel like you're kind of trying to force your opinion on the child rather than letting the child, just come into the society and make choices for themselves. But for we Africans, we come from an environment where we believe that what your child display in the future, their opinions about life, their perceptions about life, the decisions they take is solely dependent on the kind of roots they have come from, the kind of family they have come from. In Africa, when a child goes out, we are very religious in Africa. That is it. We are highly religious. So when a child goes out, no matter how they want to deviate from what has been taught, it's like there's something ringing in their subconsciousness. Remember where you're from. Remember the family where you have come from. Remember, places where you have come from. Remember your home, your background, your values, things to think of. Oh, you think your mommy will be disappointed in you, your daddy will be disappointed. But here in the Western culture, I really do not think that children, even teenagers, the ones that have seen, I really do not think that they think like that. Everybody back home, every child back home wants to represent their family. The family image is like what a child does outside represents what the family is. What a child does outside speaks volume of who the parents are, the kind of home training the child has got. But I really don't think the society cares here in the West. No. They just see it as, oh, that's your decision. You're grown now. You've made your decision. But for us, literally, in Africa, we don't look at it like that. We trace it down to, the upbringing our parents have given us, or the family, to the point that people will even say, oh, that family, they are known for this character, So it's difficult. It's difficult. Guys, tell me, if you're living in the West, how are you managing to, teach the children the values that they need to know? How are you managing to create a thin line between family influence and environmental influence when it comes to raising your child? Because one thing is certain, I believe most parents are working so hard to make sure that their children are doing well for themselves. So one thing is you teaching the child that this is good and this is bad. And one thing is the child choosing the path that they want to go. You don't follow the child to school. Most particularly, the teens, when they get to the teen age. I was discussing this with a friend. Said, you see that teen, once you hear 13, you have to, sit up. Because 13, 14, 15 in the Western country comes with a lot of waves. You can manage to adjust the heads of those of them in primary school. But you see, when they get to that college, when they get to secondary school, that is when you see the sleepovers that you prevented them from attending in primary school because they were younger. You can't stop them anymore. That is when your child will remember that I'm grown. My mom can't tell me not to go for a sleepover. My dad can't tell me. After all, I can ring the police on them. But you as an African, you are not seeing that as a crime. You are seeing that as it's not something we are used to. We don't do sleepovers. For me as a Nigerian, I'm not sure it's something that is obtainable in other African countries. Is there any African country that do sleepovers? For me as a Nigerian, we don't do it. Most Nigerian parents will frown at sleepovers because they are not sure of the safety of their child. They are not sure what the child will learn overnight. They are not sure the family values of where their child is going to. So now when you are born and bred in Africa and then you come into the West and a child is requesting for a sleepover, it's very difficult. You see so many African parents do what? Say no to that, especially when they are primary. But once they get to that secondary, you can't stop them all. You can't stop them. I remember the case of a doctor. Is he Nigerian doctor? I'm not sure. Let me not say what I don't know. But I know he's a doctor in London. I don't know if he has finished serving his jail sentence. The 16-year-old invited his white friend to the house for sleepover. So, as an African he is, I think in his head he'll be thinking it's safer for him to bring his friend to the house rather than have him go to the friend's house for sleepover and stuff like that. So now this child, the white child, came to the house. They were watching, pornography overnight. And this medical doctor, you know how it is in Africa, because you're a medical doctor, you want your child to be a medical doctor, you want your child to be a nurse because you're a nurse, and stuff like that. Is that how you're going to be a doctor? Is that how you're going to be a doctor? Pounced on this child. Now, the friend who came for a sleepover now went and rang the police. And this was how this guy was dragged to the court. This was how this guy was dragged to the court. And he's serving his sentence. So, I don't know. Tell me, if you have raised teenagers in this country, tell me. Let me know. How do you guys go about it? How do you do it? Because I believe that the teen age is the most difficult stage. If you're able to get a child, to be calm and calculated and focused at that age, throughout that age of being a teenager, then I think you've made it as a parent once they get to adulthood. So I don't know. So you see, different parenting style, different perception about life in terms of religion, in terms of social values, in terms of culture, family norms, what we present as standard really back home. Some of them are something that they don't really care about here, So here, some of them might see it as you're being too extreme. You are being too extreme, or you're being too harsh with that child. So it's a bit challenging, to be honest. It's a bit challenging. And believe you me, because of the two different systems, that is why it's really very difficult for you to find some children born and bred in the West going back to Africa as a child. Some of these things, the system have made them too comfortable that they don't even have value. I think that's a topic we'll talk about sometime in the future. Why children born and raised in Western countries do not return back to Africa, regardless of whatever. We'll talk about that topic another day. But today we are focusing on the challenges of raising these kids, the challenges that come with it. That's what we are talking about in today's video. Tell me, what challenge, put it down in the comment section, have you faced? Do you really find it challenging, or do you think that it's our parenting style that makes it a challenge for us when we get to the Western countries and start having children in the Western countries? Is it our parenting style? Is it our parenting culture? What exactly it is? Because I believe I'm not the only one. I've had conversation with different people of different age brackets, of different, family sizes, and the story is the same across the board. Let us not even talk about religion. Let's not even go there. Let's not even go there. For me, who was raised in a Christian home, every Sunday you must go to church. go to Bible studies, participate, do your sword drill, and all those things, and now you come into a system where Sunday is like cruise. Permit me to use the word cruise day, because I've heard citizens of this country, some have said to me, oh, even on their deathbed, they would rather be in the pub. Some have never been into the church in their lifetime. Some go to the church only on Christmas Day, 24th Eve. So some of them don't even have an understanding of what exactly are you celebrating. But it's just a culture to go to church. I remember last year, Christmas, 24th Eve, I was in church. Oh my God, I could not believe the amount of young people I saw in church 24th Eve. And after all the children did their actings and dramas in church, and when the main sermon started, people started walking away. So imagine you coming from a culture where religion is a big thing for you, and now you're struggling. You don't even have time. You're going to work, doing 12-hour shift. Yourself and your spouse are rationing childcare. So the days you're at home, you want to just chill. And imagine yourself chilling, and at the end of the day, you don't get to even get the chance to open the Bible, which is what you believe, to teach the children. So you find yourself raising children who are not even religious in the first place. But however, you were brought up in a religious home. So that's environment, because the system has been formatted in a way that it's either you are resting or you are working to make money. And basically, for us immigrants, for people who have not gotten their permanent residencies like us, you tend to fulfill your contracted hours and stuff like that. So you must be conscious of the fact that you want to be religious before you can even think of putting that in your children. So that's basically that. That's what this live stream is about today, guys. I didn't just want to sit down and start making videos and editing. I just wanted to, express it as I'm feeling it, so that you people can tell me in the comment section, what are the challenges? What are the challenges that you are facing living in the West as an African parent in raising your kids? Has it been that easy? If it has been that easy, guys, please share with me in the comment section, so that all of us can exchange ideas. But please, 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 we need to be polite in our comment section. Don't be rude to anybody. Share your thoughts. Share your thoughts, the challenges you're facing raising kids in the West as an African parent, what challenges you face, how you've been managed to deal with it, so that other people as well can learn. That's what this live stream is all about today. So if you're just joining us, you can go back from the beginning and watch. I'll be ending the stream here today, guys, and I'll see you guys in our next stream. If you have not subscribed to our channel, because I basically talk about life in the UK, not in the UK. Sometimes I do vlogs and every other thing that you might want me to discuss. We do it all in this channel. So consider subscribing and sticking around with us in this channel. I'll see you guys in my next video.